Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being with us today. My name is Blake Desjarlais. I'm the proud NDP Member of Parliament for Edmonton-Griesba, and I'm today with members of the Sudanese community, our Foreign Affairs critic, Heather McPherson, and our Immigration, Refugees, and Canadian Citizenship critic, Jenny Kwan. We're here today to discuss the devastating crisis that's unfolding in Sudan, the many victims of that catastrophe, and of course the fellow Canadians, our neighbors and community members who are suffering. It's incredibly heartbreaking to know that millions of children today are acutely malnourished. They're close and on the brink of starvation. Canada can and must play a role in ensuring that those who are seeking reunification with their loved ones, like the members behind me, including my friend Inam, who his mother is trapped in Sudan, gets to safety here in Canada. It's clear that members of my community in Edmonton and right across the country, Sudanese persons are wondering where their loved ones are. They're wondering how they're going to get to safety, and they're wondering what Canada can do and must do to ensure that their loved ones are brought home. I have to remind Canadians oftentimes that Canada is a remarkable place. It's a remarkable place because the onset of our history between First Nations people, my people, and migrants and immigration throughout the history of Canada, Canada has been a safe haven for countless generations of those fleeing conflict from numerous places around the globe. This is the foundation of our country, and it's a principle we must safeguard. It is that level of compassion and that empathy that makes Canada truly a place that many can call home. But this devastating crisis is one that we must have the courage to understand, we must have the courage to stand with Sudanese, and we must have the courage to ensure that our systems and processes encourage the reunification of family in order to slow down and dismantle the terrible effects of intergenerational trauma. So I'd like to now invite my fellow colleague and friend, Heather McPherson, I'd like to invite member of the Sudanese community, Inam Mohammedan, member of my community in Edmonton, to speak about her experience and how she's experienced the IRCC system with her mother. Please, Inam.
Thank you so much, Blake, for introducing me and give me the opportunity to speak today to the Canadian, to let them hear my voice, my story. My name is Inam Mohammedan. I am a Sudanese nation, and I am Canadian as well. I stand here today to tell you my story. 8 years ago, I flee the war in Darfur. I become a refugee in Libya. I get a great opportunity to come into this great country with my 3 children. Now I have 4 of them. I come into this country with a lot of help or support from my community. I get great opportunity to go to school, learn the language, and be able to be great member of this community. In April 15, the war started in Sudan. That is breakdown and millions of people being displaced, including my mother, my sibling, and a lot of people of my family. I tried to help my mother to come into Canada by sponsoring her, but unfortunately, the requirement by IRCC is out my hand. I am mother of 4 children. I cannot give up of my children to be able to respond to my mom or keep my children and let my mother die in the war. So I do not have no another choice except, yes, I get out to you to tell you my story and let you understand exactly what's going on in Sudan, and hopefully everyone to know exactly that is millions of children die every day. Every minute, 5 children they being die by hunger due to lack of food, due to lack of access to medication, and there are no humanitarian assistance out there for my people. So I am standing here to ask our government to stand behind Sudanese nation, to give them hope, to give them opportunity to live. We deserve to live. Our children matter. And I hope the government hear my story and act on behalf of millions of Sudanese live in Canada. We are part of this community, and we believe in here as a Canadian, and we not ask for too much. We ask guests to send right away humanitarian assistance to Sudanese people because our people is dying. And we need you to just decrease the requirement for us to be able to respond to our loved one to come into safety. An open program for refugees, that is, they do not have anyone here, especially women and victims of this war, and children without parents, to come into this country to live, to have the opportunity to have a future. That is opportunity that is being given 8 years ago or 6 years ago by the government of Canada. I need that is opportunity to be able to have like for people the victim of this war. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, everybody, and thank you, Nam, for sharing your personal story with us. And we know that it takes a lot of courage to speak your story in front of everybody, but it needs to be heard. And what we need is for the Canadian government to take real action. What's happening, as we've heard in Sudan, is catastrophic. It is, in fact, a country that is faced with war, and there are more children that are being displaced than any other place in the world. Hunger, the hunger crisis is real, and people are dying. Yet, on the one hand, the Liberal government, Minister Miller, says he cares deeply, and he's deeply concerned. But it took the minister 10 months to even just to come up with this special immigration measure. And then the minister at the Immigration Committee said that at best it will be the end of the year before Sudanese would be able to come to Canada to safety to reunite with their loved ones here. At least the end of the year or in the new year. That's a year away. People will not survive that long. That is the truth, and that's the reality. And with the special immigration measure that Minister Miller had announced, it is faced with so many, people are faced with so many barriers. People cannot get to a place where they can get their biometrics done. It is simply not possible in an environment like this. It is not safe for them in an environment like this. Yet they have layered on all these bureaucratic requirements that people cannot get through. And is it a wonder then that people will not be able to get to safety and lives are being lost? The truth of the matter is this: Canada can do better and must do better. Canada set a standard with the Ukraine special immigration measure. There's war going on there, and Canada needs to and must do everything we can to help to bring people to safety. But they need to do the same and apply the same standard for other countries as well. And Sudan deserves that level of support. And I might add, Gaza deserves that level of support. Afghanistan deserves that level of support. The point here is this: there are inequities within the immigration system. The minister knows it, the government knows it. And now people's lives are in jeopardy. We need to do better. So the NDP is calling on Minister Miller to provide the same level of support that the government is providing to Ukrainians, to Sudanese. Allow for and expedite the special immigration measure to bring people to safety, and to do it now, not the end of the year, not next year, because by then, for many, it would be too late. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Heather McPherson. I am the Foreign Affairs critic for the New Democratic Party. It is a incredible privilege for me to have the opportunity to stand today with members of the Sudanese community, with my colleagues Blake Desjarlais and Jenny Kwan, And I think one of the messages that we really want the Government of Canada to hear is the urgency of this situation. We have not even heard a statement from this government since June of last year. This is an issue that is so dire that requires the government to stand up and to take action. And yet, time and time again, we are hearing platitudes, we are hearing promises, but we are not seeing action on the ground. The Government of Canada could do much more to alleviate the suffering of Sudanese and Sudanese Canadian people today. And as my colleague Jenny Kwan mentioned, the inability for this government to be able to recognize the challenges that are happening in Sudan, the war that's happening in Sudan, at the same level that they recognize other conflicts like Ukraine, is appalling. We need to see this government actually implement the promises that they've made to the Sudanese Canadians. We need to see this government take concrete steps like sanctioning the warlords who are causing such suffering for women and children in Sudan. We need to see the government follow through with the humanitarian aid, working with partners that are on the ground, making sure that they have the resources to get the support, to get the urgent humanitarian aid to those people who so desperately would need it right now. We don't get to pick and choose which countries Canada supports. We have an obligation to ensure that those who are suffering are supported, and the Canadian government has completely lost the thread on the conflict that we are seeing in Sudan. So I call on the government. I wrote to the government a month ago asking them to take concrete steps. I gave them the plan of what would actually help the Sudanese people today. We've still not heard from the government on this. It's time for action. It's time for urgent action, and I would urge the Liberals to take the steps necessary. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. I'm not certain how much time we have for any possible questions, but if there's any. Sure, we just want to thank folks for being present with us. We know that in Sudan, this is a crisis that affects Canadians across the country and affects neighborhoods across the country, communities across the country. And please ensure that you can keep Sudanese neighbors in mind while we push forward on these solutions. And please contact your members of parliament to assist in this work. Thank you very much.